Hi, my name's Brooke Balan. For my project, I did unhealthy communication habits within intact families dealing with interparental conflict. So basically, I wanted to focus on the effects that unhealthy interparental conflict can have on children. So when parents are fighting with each other and have a really unhealthy relationship, how that can affect their children as kids and in long-term future in their own relationships. This topic's really personal to me as I've grown up with kind of in an unhealthy communication household. Both of my parents didn't communicate very well, and I feel like it's really has had an impact on me. So it was something I was really excited to study and to see if other people are able to relate and to see if there's an actual reason for kind of how it's affected me and to see if how it affects others. So kind of is based off of a lot of times unhealthy couples, they say they want to stay together for their kids, and that divorce is seen as like the last resort or the last option. And if you get a divorce, it's basically you've given up and you're not willing to try to stay together for your kids, or you're not willing to work on your relationship anymore. But I sometimes feel like divorce actually is a better option. It's better than staying together if you're unhappy, if parents are unhappy in their relationship, and if they've fallen out of love. It's not fair to their kids to have to watch them be miserable and then say they're doing it for them. I feel like that has a lot of negative impacts on them and in their future. So through my research for this project, I discovered three main issues that come into children's life as a result of unhealthy interparental conflict, and that's what I focused on for my literature review. So the first issue was parent-child communication, how it affects the child's willingness to talk to their parents and their openness to be able to express to their parents how they're feeling, and just really to everyone as well, everyone else in their family, their siblings, and just how it affects their communications long term. The second thing is the psychological vulnerability that affects children from interparental conflict. So the anxiety, depression, it can cause children, and that is what I mostly focused about for my translational project, but I'll get onto that in just a second. And then the third thing I focused on in my lit review was results of interparental conflict into adulthood. So how it affects their relationships as they get married and build or start dating, trying to gain adult friendships, and how growing up in an unhealthy communication household affects them that way. But so for my translational project, I really wanted to focus on the psychological vulnerability. Like I said, I feel like a lot of times parents don't realize the effect it's having on their kids, and don't realize that it can cause them to feel depression and to feel anxiety, and that can cause long-term mental effects on them. So for my translational project, I just did a basic drawing, a basic infographic that shows parents fighting, and then in the other room there's their daughter sitting against the wall listening to them, and she's kind of has her head down and there's darkness surrounding her, and that darkness is supposed to be representative of the anxiety and stress she feels surrounding her parents fighting. The parents have their words that they might say to each other in an unhealthy communication scenario, like telling each other to shut up, or that they don't care, that they weren't the same person they were when they got married. So it's kind of representing how it affects the daughter. I titled the infographic, "Your Words to Each Other Affect Another." I feel like sometimes parents may think that their fighting's not being heard by their children, but in reality the children know, and they can see that they're unhappy and they're actually hearing what they're saying to each other, that it really does affect them. And then how does it portray my research? At the bottom of my infographic, I have 3 basic facts involving how it affects the children's psychological health. I say there's a positive correlation between unhealthy interparental conflict and youth anxiety. They often have habits for aggressive tendencies, and emotional insecurity is often at the core of issues developed amongst youth as a result of interparental conflict. So I feel like the main target for this is to parents to just be aware that their words do affect their children, and their fighting does have long-term impacts on their kids, and it can make them feel that they're to blame for their parents' issues and that they're the reason they're unhappy. And it can make them feel depressed and anxious and have a lot of long-term mental health issues because of the interparental conflict. Let's see. Yeah, I hope that gets the point across and that makes sense.